Saludos a toda la afición de Lucha Libre Online. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de Lucha Libre Online. Y tenemos el enorme privilegio de presentarles a nuestra invitada especial en la tarde de hoy, en directo desde Dallas, Texas, para el mundo. Ella es la creadora de diferentes cosas, entre ellos la empresa Mama Bear, creadora de Ring Along, y también conocida como una de las Nitro Girls de WCW, también cheerleader de los Falcons de Atlanta. Ha hecho muchas cosas en su vida, mamá de 3 chicos, esposa dedicada a su vida entera. Chae Marsh, anteriormente Cheyenne, llega aquí a Lucha Libre Online por primera vez. Chae, it is an absolute honor to have you as our guest. How are things doing for you today?
It is fantastic. I'm sitting right here with you. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
I appreciate you for your time and for accepting our invitation. And before you were a Nitro Girl, you were a human like everyone else. I mean, once you got to a Nitro Girl, reach to the audience, everyone knew who you were. But before that, let's talk about Chae, the person, the human. Where did you grow up? How were your parents? And what passionates you about life back then?
So I am first generation Korean American. I came to the country when I was 11 years old. My parents brought my brothers and I over in their mid-30s. None of us spoke English. My parents probably had just pocket full of change in their, and that's really all they had. But we did have this great anticipation and excitement to have the opportunity at the land of, American dreams. So, so when we came, we lived in Michigan. And from there, it took me a couple of years to learn English. I walked around. At the time, there's no iPhone. So there's no instant, hey, can I have taco for lunch? Or can I have peanut butter jelly sandwich? And then it's like you give it to your cafeteria lady, right? But so I walked around with dictionary this thick. One half was Korean to English. The other half was English to Korean. So my learning was going back and forth, translating every word and every text in the book. And that's how I learned the first couple of years. And then after that, when I could communicate pretty well, starting middle school, I tried out for every sports you could imagine. And mind you, I've never touched a basketball or volleyball, anything like that growing up in Korea. The only thing I knew how to play was, in gym class. I learned how to dribble, and shoot kind of a thing. So, but my love for life, I want to say started middle school when I said, you know what, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to go for everything and anything that I can. And I would actually make the teams, though I really never played until the 5th quarter, which I know there isn't one, but they create one for the ones that didn't get to play. But I didn't care. I just loved the opportunity. And from there, without any kind of dance background, I tried out for cheerleading for 8th grade. And throughout high school, I went from cheerleading to dance team. And then I danced a little bit in college. And one day, while visiting a friend in Atlanta, I found out that they were having like a little pre-tryout clinic for Atlanta Falcons. I'm like, why not? Why not me, right? So I went to the clinic, had a great opportunity, and I tried out and I made it. And I told my parents, hey, because at the time we were in Savannah. I said, hey, mom, dad, I'm moving to Atlanta. So yes, and from Atlanta, after about 1.5 years, I got an opportunity to try out for Kimberly for the Nitro Girls. And the rest, as they say, is history, right?
It is. Let me translate this briefly to Spanish.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Chae menciona varias cosas, entre ellas, ella es la primera de la primera generación de coreano-americano de su familia. Ok, sus padres emigran a Estados Unidos desde Corea, junto con ella va su hermano, va ella. Era una nena de 11 años con 2 o 3 centavos en el bolsillo de sus papás en aquel momento. Se mueven a Michigan, no sabían el idioma, no sabían muchas cosas. Chae cuenta como con libros de 2 tonos distintos, de 2 tomos distintos, traducía de coreano a inglés, de inglés a coreano, las 2 cosas separadas. Entonces ella poco a poco fue llegando a comunicarse bien. Cuando ya se sabe comunicar bien, dice, ok, ahora es que voy a hacer un tryout para todos los deportes que pueda. Voy a hacer baloncesto, todo. Y yo no había jugado nada de esto, como ella dice. Yo sabía driviar y shoot, como ella dice, y lanzar el canasto. Lo que hacía en gym class prácticamente. Pero le da la oportunidad de estas cosas, entonces de esos deportes pasa a cheerleading y ocurre la oportunidad de en Atlanta a ver un tryout con los Falcons, que es un equipo de la NFL que estaba aquí arriba. En aquel momento eran muy populares. Y ahí dice como que, ok, un tryout con los Falcons, ¿por qué no yo? Déjame intentarlo, yo puedo hacerlo. Llega allí, la firma a los Falcons, trabaja como cheerleader con ellos también y posteriormente hace su transición a WCW Nitro, como ella dice, y el resto es historia. Chae, before going to the Nitro part, you sign a contract with at the moment one of the most popular teams in the whole NFL, and that's the Falcons. Not many people had that opportunity in their lives. However, you worked really hard to get everything in your life, and that was your first big moment, your first big break in terms of mainstream media. How did you reacted when they, gave you or granted you the opportunity to be a part of their family, and how was your experience working with them?
As you know, when you are given an opportunity as being blessed to come to this country, you don't take anything for granted. And at the same time, I knew my roots. I knew where I came from. And having not really taken anything for granted, I was always grateful and I was always humbled. It just really helped that the girls were absolutely amazing. They were so sweet. The experience was at the time best ever, right? Because it was pre-Nitro. So my first year on, they actually did a calendar, and obviously there were only 12 months of the year. And out of 30 something girls, I was fortunate enough to be chosen to be featured in the calendar. So that was amazing. It's just being in front of the crowd. It's one thing being in college or small college or high school in front of your I don't know, not that many, right? Compared to the big arena full of fans. So it really was an amazing experience, and I never took one day for granted, and I was always humbled, and I just knew that it was an opportunity that I needed to appreciate and live every moment.
I'll translate this briefly to Spanish. Chae menciona que con el equipo de los Falcons es una oportunidad grande, pero como ella dice, llegar a Estados Unidos y tener esta oportunidad de cambiar tu vida no es fácil. No puedes dejar nada pasar por desapercibido. Ella se sentía humilde, como dice, she was humble. Se sentía agraciada de tener las oportunidades que tuvo, pero principalmente ella trabajó fuertemente para conseguir cada cosa que ella tuvo en su vida. Eran como 30 muchachos en el equipo de cheerleading de los Falcons en aquel momento dado. Tuvo la suerte de estar en el calendario del mismo equipo. Eran 12 personas solamente, ella fue suficientemente afortunada para eso. Y ahí aprendí a trabajar con un público, tal vez no es lo mismo que como estaban con Nitro, pero tenía un montón de público con los estadios de fútbol llenos, trabajando para todos ellos, animándolos, manteniéndolos con la misma energía. Y fue esta, vamos a decirlo, la primera oportunidad grande que tuvo Chae ante las cámaras. You mentioned who was the person responsible, to offer you that first tryout with WCW, but do you saw pro wrestling before signing with them? Like, do you knew the world you were entering into? How do you feel? Did you feel like a challenge? You felt nervous?
I had no idea what WCW Monday Night Nitro was. Not to mention, it's not like, with Falcons, there's Falcons cheerleader. But with Nitro, there was never been anything like the Nitro Girl. So when they said they were looking for girls for a wrestling TV show, I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew Hulk Hogan because my grandpa used to watch wrestling. But other than that, I didn't know that there was such an exciting show like that existed until after I got the job. I'm visiting a friend of mine, and her boyfriend was manager at one of the sports bars. And I guess they did a big Monday Night Nitro show or party, as a lot of sports bars did. And when I told him, like, yeah, I got this job. It's traveling with, like, I don't know, WCW, Nitro or something. I mean, he was such a fan, and he just fell over in the parking lot. So that's when I realized, okay, this is something bigger than I thought. And of course, the pay-per-view before we debuted in Orlando, the pay-per-view was in Daytona. It was first time we experienced anything like the fans. And we were these little ducklings following Kimberly around because none of us really was really ever in wrestling business. So that was a huge moment where I thought, this is something that I don't know anything about, but I knew it was going to be something very big, and I was going to just live the best years of my life doing it.
Perfect, I'll translate this. Ella menciona que no veía lucha libre, sabía quién era Hulk Hogan porque su abuelo veía Hulk Hogan, pero no era parte de este crew de la industria. Sin embargo, cuando le da la oportunidad del trabajo, ella va a una fiesta, como un sports bar en aquel momento, había una fiesta de WCW, y le dice a un amigo, mira, me dieron un trabajo, viajando con una empresa, se llama WCW, y el amigo abrió los ojos así de grandes, como que WCW, se desmayó ahí en el parking, se fue por ir para atrás, no sabía que él era súper fanático, y ella dice como que, ok, esto es más grande de lo que tal vez yo estoy pensando. Ellas debutan en Daytona, en donde tienen la oportunidad de debutar las Nitro Girls completamente, y yo creo que el resto es historia por ahí para abajo. You made your debut in Daytona Beach, of all places on earth. Florida can be a cute place, but it can be a rough crowd. Experiencing your job as the Nitro Girl. You are not just Chae, you are Chae the Nitro Girl. That's, you have a mainstream media stuff that everyone is going to recognize you in airports. Everyone is going to be recognizing you at the store, at the supermarkets. How do you manage, from being a girl that moved from Korea to the United States, who was humble, and now everyone knew who you were? Like, how do you manage the fame of working for WCW?
I think with anything in life, whenever something good happens or whenever something bad happens, I don't think you as a person change. I think you just become more of who you are in challenges, in fortunes, or in hard times. And I've always had this feeling that I'm always blessed. And I've always just had this gratitude for life and opportunities. So, like, soon after we all debuted, it was Fire and AC Jazz and I were in Hawaii, and we rented a Jeep and we're driving around, and this was like within 3-4 months after we debuted, and this car pulled up next to us and asked if we're the Nitro Girls. We were like, for a second, we're like, what are the, like, we couldn't associate, like, did he really recognize who we are? And then even in Australia, I got off on the plane, and then I'm going through baggage claim, and somebody's yelling my name, and I'm just looking around to see somebody that I know, but it was complete stranger. And so that's when I realized, wow, the magnitude of who we are. And at the time, social media isn't like what it is today, right? So for us to have reached as far and as fast as we did, it was just amazing. But going back to what you were asking, hard times and good times, you just become more of who you are. And I'm just blessed with this feeling of gratitude that, it just really it never changed who I was. And throughout it all, even until the very end, I always wondered, what was the big deal? We're just here to entertain them. And we just really never let it really go to our heads.
That's the best thing you could have done. Let me translate this. Ella menciona que no debes permitir que la fama o nada te cambie. Debes ser tú mismo, pero ser más tú, vamos a decirlo de esa manera. Llega el punto en donde la fama de las Nitro Girls es tanta que ellas están en Hawái, y si Jazz y ella estaban en un Jeep, estaban guiando, y de momento les pasa un carro por el lado, y es como que, ustedes son las Nitro Girls, y ella como que, nos acaban de reconocer en Hawái, ¿qué rayo acaba de pasar? Y ahí ella se dio cuenta como que, ok, eso fue varios meses después de debutar, ya la gente sabemos quiénes somos. De momento está en Australia, en el baggage claim, con su maletita, con sus cosas, Chae, Chae, empiezan a gritarle de allá, y yo como que, tiene que ser alguien que yo conozca, un extraño gritando mi nombre, o el extraño, la gente empieza a reconocer quiénes son las Nitro Girls. Y obviamente lo que dice es, no permitas que tu fama te cambie y siempre trabaja para ser tú mismo y vivir por ti y por quien eres. A thing that was really complicated, and it's still really complicated about the wrestling industry, it's traveling. You were on the road so much, highly probable more than in your same house. How do you manage the crazy schedule that the pro wrestling industry has?
It helps when you are definitely single without families. I want to say at the time, besides Kimberly, only Spice was married. So rest of us, it was just us. And, and so it was really easy. I don't know if it's something that is doable at this point in my life between 3 kids. I mean, I have to color code their schedule between all their sports and, and school activities. So we lived it. We lived it to the fullest. But the nice thing about it is traveling part and all that, we were really well taken care of by the office, right? Whereas a lot of the guys in their contract, only thing they got was their flights, and everything else between rental cars and hotels, they had to do on their own. So I'm sure there was a lot that came with just trying to work those logistics. But for us, we had our car rented for us. We had our, hotel. So they really treated us well. And not to mention traveling together. It was like a girls, it was like girls trip. I mean, I'm lucky if I get a girls weekend once a year. I mean, for me, it was like every day was a girls trip, and it was amazing. Going to new places that I've never been to, experiencing new people. It came at the right time, and I'm so blessed by it.
Perfect. Chae nos menciona que obviamente el itinerario era algo loco, pero ayuda cuando estás soltero y sin hijos, en su caso soltera y sin hijos. Solamente había una de las chicas que estaba casada, el resto estaban solteras. Los talentos, por ejemplo, pues ya les compraban el vuelo, pero tenían que alquilar sus vehículos y sacar sus hoteles. A ellas no. Ellas le daban ya su rental car, le daban su hotel, se daban sus flights, le daban todo de momento. Y obviamente era como que, pues Girls Night Out eternamente que tenemos ahora mismo. Tiene 3 hijos, tiene un esposo y como que dice, soy suficientemente afortunada si tengo un weekend al año con las muchachas, porque la realidad es que no da el tiempo. Before going to my next question regarding the wrestling industry, you mentioned something really important. 3 kids. You are a mom. How does being a mom change your life into what you are right now? Because you created your own product, and we will get to that in our next question. But how does being a mom change you?
Being a parent really is, I want to say, the toughest job. Oh, hang on, that's our dog. We live like a poor dog. We live like a few blocks from fire station, and and he's one of those that howls, poor thing. But so my husband and I, we talk all the time. We said parenting can be easy if we either not care, or if we, you could really beat anybody, spank anybody into submission, right? But it's just how you raise kids without breaking their spirit. It's just bend it enough where we get a point across, but we don't ever want to break our spirit. And to just talk something kind of a little serious to add to this, I'm really heartbroken to hear about Daphne, as you know. And one of the Instagram posts that she posted about a year ago, and she reposted someone's post, and it kind of talks about, being estranged from abusive parents. There are times when you feel like you miss your mom, but you realize that you're not really missing your mom, but because there was really nothing to miss, but you just miss the idea of having a mom and having a mom that, helped. So when you look at that, it is so, it magnifies our role as parents. And I think I have a lot of triggers. That's what I learned with having kids. Because, when you're dealing with adults, it's one thing. But when you're dealing with little kids and they're talking back at you or those kind of things, you get triggered. And I think a lot of times that's your childhood triggering you. How, what happened to you when you talk back, right? And if you weren't really... gosh, I don't know how to really say it. And I'm sorry that it went off this way, but I think what I'm trying to say is it's so important that we treat our kids with respect, right? And respect is given, and so you can receive respect. And just because they're little doesn't mean that they don't have their own voice. So I think what I learned from parenting, what changed me is reflecting why I handle certain things with the way I do and why I'm impatient with certain things. And it's because you have to reflect a lot with yourself and how you handle things. And you have to know that there are better ways to handle things, because your kids, you have to, it's up to you how you raise them. It's what kind of productive citizens they become. And so what it changed me to be a better person and to admit when I'm wrong, to reflect and to know that it's really not always because I said so. It's because you always have to, I hope I'm making sense, Michael. And I didn't mean to go down this route. It's just that I just came across Daphne's that one post, and it just really broke my heart that she grew up in such a bad. So I don't know how you can.
Latina moms should take notes on this one, not just because they're right. That's the culture, at least in our side of the world. Let me translate this in yours as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let me translate this to Spanish.
Yeah.
Ok, le pregunto por cómo le ha cambiado la vida ser madre. Habla de una anécdota con Daphne. Ve los posts, lamentablemente sabemos que pues, Daphne falleció. Comienza a hablar de una publicación en donde ella dice, pues relata el abuso que vivió con sus padres. Luego ve otra publicación diciendo que extraña a su mamá. Y ella dice como que pues no extrañas a tu mamá porque no había nada que extrañar lamentablemente de ese lado, sino que extrañas la idea de tener una mamá. Y en su caso, ella lo que quiere es imponerle disciplina a sus hijos sin quebrantar su espíritu, without breaking their spirits, como ella dice, es crear un límite, un balance entre esa línea fina, difícil de trabajar, es ponerle disciplina, pero brindarle amor, elevarle la autoestima, brindarle afecto, aceptar cuando estás mal como padre o como madre, no porque sean pequeños, como dicen, no because you're little, it doesn't mean they don't have their own voice, no porque sean pequeños no significa que ellos tengan su propia voz, que no puedan tener su propia voz. Hay que escucharlo, hay que ser responsable, y lo que él ha cambiado la vida es el hecho de que la ha hecho una mejor persona, la ha convertido en un mejor ser humano, which leads me actually to my next point. One of the things that motivated you to start your own business for your kids, actually. So you created your own company, Mama Bear LLC, and under the umbrella of Mama Bear LLC, there's something that exists that is called Ring Along. I've seen what you created. It looks amazing. You have your Kickstarter campaign available as well. Talk us a little bit about Ring Along, why you created this, and how does this change everything in our business, basically? Because it's not only for people that has kids that go to the gym. It's something that everyone can use.
It really truly is everything. It is something that everybody can use, but I just needed to focus on a niche. And since I came up with the idea while I was struggling with all the kids stuff, that's when I'm right now focusing on women and moms. So it came out of necessity, obviously, traveling as much as we did. I just couldn't find any really good organizers. And as you know, with girls, it just comes, it's a big tote bag with big open space. And there's a couple products that do exist, but it's like it's same old like solution to this problem that we've had forever. And one day when I was just digging through a bunch of little separate pouches, I thought, okay, because I'm still digging, and I thought, okay, how can I keep this all together? And then how can I display it at the top of the bag so not everything's at the bottom? So I thought, okay. And then that's how I came up with the concept. But with me, I thought, okay, I'm just a little tiny, not even a fish. I'm just a blip in this huge ocean. And I don't know anything about the bag industry. So for me, it was important to see if I could get it utility patented, which means, you know, I own the concept, the functionality of my organizers. Because if anybody that's in the industry, the bag industry, would look at it, I mean, they would have it out on the store shelves before I could finish my morning coffee. So I applied for patent, and when I saw that things were going well, I'm like, okay, I need to get this out there so that way I can help everybody else too. Because it's such an easy concept. I kind of explain it as like, remember when we used to, you know, just deal with those luggage with those tiny little wheels. And then one day it was actually an airline pilot who knows the problem also well, that he thought, okay, how about if I put really good quality, like rollerblade wheels, 2 of them, and have retractable handle. It's simple concept, and think about it, and they change the way we travel with that luggage. And so this is kind of the same thing. It applies to your gyms. Anytime you have multiple items that need to be kept separate in pouches, but at the same time easily accessible because they're kept together, and you can display it and you can click it in any fixtures. It's fun. Yeah.
Perfect, I'll translate this. Ring Along es un concepto que nace de la mente de Chae Marsh por necesidad, porque de momento tiene 3 hijos y tiene, como dice, podemos trabajar con un nicho, pero tengo 3 hijos y no voy a poner todo en un solo lugar. Entonces comienza a crear un concepto completamente diferente en donde tal vez en un solo compartimiento tiene múltiples compartimientos hasta con un mismo clip para pegarlos en cualquier lado. Ok, estoy en el carro, lo pego a las llaves, lo pego al bulto, lo pego al keychain, lo pego a cualquier lugar. Puedes hacerlo porque simplemente tienes ese clip. Ella dice, ok, esta oportunidad ya está patentizada, ya ella dice, ok, quiero patentizarlo, quiero ponerle todo a mi nombre prácticamente, porque yo fui la que originé este concepto. Y como ella dice, dentro de la industria de los bags o de los bultos, la realidad es que ella dice como que yo soy un blimp en el ocean, yo soy un alfiler en el océano, porque yo no sé mucho de esta industria, pero comienza a orientarse, comienza a hacer las cosas, y una cosa lleva a la otra, y de momento tiene su producto, se llama Ring Along. Pueden buscarlo en ring along.com. Ahí lo pueden verificar. De todas maneras, eso va a aparecer aquí abajo, al igual que el Kickstarter campaign de Ring Along está disponible también, lo pueden verificar, también va a estar aquí abajo en la sección de comentarios. Es una oportunidad excelente para ser parte de este proyecto. El Kickstarter, literalmente lo pueden ir en kickstarter.com, lo buscas ahí en Projects y aparece como Ring Along, ahí va a estar disponible. De todas maneras, eso va a estar aquí abajo en la sección de comentarios. Dense la oportunidad de explorar un nuevo producto, sobre todo aquellos que son padres, que son madres, que tienen hijos, que tienen hijas, todo el mundo que tiene niños. Créanme que les va a facilitar la vida drásticamente cuando de momento tengas que poner las meriendas de 4 o 5 muchachos, en lugar de ponerlas en un solo bulto para que se estén matando, pues las pones en diferentes compartimientos como lo es Ring Along. Así que vayan a Ring Along, a sus redes sociales también, lo pueden buscar a ella en Instagram, está disponible como Chae Marsh, ahí la pueden buscar, denle follow, también va a aparecer aquí abajo en la sección de comentarios. And apologize for the Spanish. Let's go to...
I love it. I love that. Oh my gosh. It just, you make it sound so exciting and so passionate. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Speaking of passions, you were a Nitro Girl. But as a Nitro Girl, you had the opportunity to do things that were not wrestling related. And I'm talking about music and acting. Diversity 5, a group founded by the Nitro Girls, purely directed to the pop industry, while the industry was changing. And as well, you had the opportunity to be in a movie, and I'm talking about Ready to Rumble. How does these two projects help you achieve an even higher status in your life?
Gosh, you know, I really don't think of it as higher status, but I think of it as just because, you know, I feel like in life, right? You have a sundae, and then you have your ice cream, banana, hot fudge, and then you have that one cherry on top, right? For me, I have about 5 cherries, you know, and you know what I mean? Belkins, that's a cherry. Nitro Girl is a cherry.
Hollywood.
The music is a cherry, you know, so yeah. So it's just, it's just really every day, my gratitude for my life, it grows. I mean, it's just one after another of the blessings. And yes, I'm not saying there's not any bad times. There are bad times, but at the same time, I think it's good to keep your focus on the positives in life.
Wow. Let me translate this. Ella menciona que, ok, el pastel por lo general tiene una sola cherry, una sola cereza encima. Chae tiene como 5. Nitro Girl, Falcons, actuación, música, el mismo proyecto de Ring Along, son muchas cherries encima. Ella no lo ve como algo que la llevó a un estatus más alto, sino algo que la ayudó a ella a convertirse en mejor ser humano, algo que la ayudó a ella a alcanzar un nuevo nivel en las cosas y unas nuevas oportunidades que definitivamente, ¿quién no quisiera estar en Hollywood? ¿Quién no quisiera estar actuando con David Arquette? ¿Quién no quisiera estar cantando con sus amigas en un grupo de pop? Entonces, esto está bastante interesante porque ella ha hecho muchas cosas en su vida y todas son esa cherry encima de su pastel. Chae, before we go to our last question, I want to thank you so much for your time and for being here with us today. Last but not least, you're with Ring Along. Mama Bear is basically a reality right now. You have your patents for your products. You have your kids. You have your husband. You're happy in life. Once you look back at that 11-year-old Korean girl that moved to the US for the first time, and you see where you are right now, did you ever thought that you were going to achieve so much in your life as you've done so far?
Never. You know, at the time, I have to tell you, so it was tough, obviously. And the funny story is, you know, we applied for visa when I was in 1st grade, and we got our visa when I was in 5th grade. It took 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And and then it took us about 3 to 4 months to just kind of get all our affairs in line for us to fly over to the US. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to teach myself how to speak English. So I snuck around and I watched the American channel for the US servicemen that they have there. So back in the early 80s, the 2 of the most favorite shows were Dynasty and Dallas. So here I am watching Dynasty and Dallas. I'm like, that's how I'm going to live? I mean, I didn't know anything about US, right? I thought I was going to ride horses all day long. I thought I was just going to dress pretty and, you know, get into little cat fights with some ladies, you know, poolside. I mean, that's what I thought. And my biggest dilemma coming over to US and the flight was trying to decide what color horse I wanted. I didn't want brown. Do I want white? Do I want black? Right. And here's how funny life can be. So we came to the States in middle of December, and we were going to stay with my aunt, and she's the one that sponsored us, her and her husband. She lived in Michigan, middle of December. So when we landed, we were jet lagged, and I don't really remember, but I just remember the next morning waking up, and I got up and I think I was like expecting to see like Dallas, South Fork, you know, with like pasture of horses, middle of December, that much snow in Michigan. So from there, it was downhill for a while. And then after that, they just threw me into school with the Wolves, you know, and so I started school a few weeks after we got there. And I have to tell you that I cried every night for a while. I said, God, if you knew that you were going to if you knew that I was going to live here, why couldn't you make me look like the girl next door? Why couldn't I be Jane? Why do I have to be Chae? Right? And I went through my share of being teased, you know, at school, and I have no hard feelings, and it's because there is no, because it's just people they just don't know, and they're little, you know, and they don't know, they're kids, and I have to tell you, there is this one girl in 6th grade who made my life and my best friend's life just living HELL every day. And my friend she was American, but she was, you know, her physique was larger, right? So both her and I were targeted every day. And I'll never forget, in homeroom class in 6th grade, and this girl is kept on me, right, in class. This guy named Greg Anderson, I'm going to say his name, and I wish I could find him. He was the jock of our grade. He was like the most popular kid in our grade. He stood up for me. He told this girl and said, you need to leave her alone. You know, and I don't want to hear another word out of you. Leave her alone. And that happened so many years ago, but I still carry that in me. You know, that you realize that you know what? Yes, there are going to be some harsh words by harsh people, right? But at the same time, there are people who is rooting for you, who will stand up for you, and there are good in people. And so from there, and you know what? I'm so sorry, I forgot the question. I'm like going in a big circle, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's just, I never thought where I would be, where I am, but I just knew I'm enough, you know, and only opportunity that I'm going to miss out on are the ones that I don't go for. Doesn't matter whether I can speak, doesn't matter whether I look different. But here's the thing, I thought being different worked against me. But it wasn't until later in life with the Falcons and with Nitro, because let's face it, I was a token Asian girl. But it's not a bad thing, no. You know, and I realized, I'm like, gosh, you know, because there were girls that were so much better at dancing than I was, because I don't have a dance experience from childhood. But I was given that opportunity because of my different look, because I'm unique, because I'm a minority. So let's celebrate who you are, no matter where you came from, no matter your background. No, it's just celebrate yourself. Be kind to yourself, and just don't ever talk yourself out of an opportunity because you think that you're not enough, because you are more than enough.
This is by far my favorite part of the interview. Let me translate this to Spanish.
Right?
No, ok. Chae menciona que cuando ella estaba en Corea del Sur, estaba en primer grado, aplican para la visa de mudarse a Estados Unidos. Y cuando estaban en 5º grado, ahí es que entonces se la dan. Su tía y su esposo son sus sponsors para mudarse a Michigan. Mientras estaba allí, ella veía un programa popular, Dallas Dynasty. Y todo el tiempo veía a las personas en caballo, el sol bonito, el clima. Ella decía como que esa va a ser mi vida en Estados Unidos, peleas de chica, me gusta la idea. Y ella se montó en el avión pensando en una sola cosa: ¿de qué color va a ser mi caballo? ¿De qué color va a ser mi caballo de todas las cosas? Llega de momento con jet lag a Michigan en diciembre con la nieve hasta acá arriba, en pleno invierno. A ver la ventana cuando se levanta, esto es nieve, esto no fue lo que me prometieron. Entonces, por ser diferente, vivió bullying en la escuela en un momento dado con su amiga también estadounidense, porque era más llenita. Una chica les hacía bullying, hasta que hubo un niño que se llama Greg Anderson, que se puso de pie y le dijo: tienes que dejarla quieta, que era el chico popular de la clase, tienes que dejarla quieta. Fue el que sacó la cara por ella. Se dio cuenta como que, ok, hay gente que va a estar intentando, gente mala intentando hacerte daño, pero hay gente que también está aplaudiendo por ti, están apoyándote y respaldándote en este proceso. Y ella se dio cuenta que está bien ser distinta, que eres suficiente, y por ser distinta y por ser suficiente, llegan las oportunidades. Como dice, yo era la apreciada chica asiática de WCW Nitro, era la chica asiática de los Falcons de Atlanta, salía en películas, tuve el grupo musical, o sea, hice todo lo que quería hacer en mi vida. dando hacia atrás el tiempo, pensaba que mi vida iba a ser así, jamás en la vida, nunca me iba a imaginar que alcancé este éxito, me siento humilde, me siento agraciada, pero de eso se trata la vida, eres suficiente, está bien ser distinto, simplemente sé tú mismo o tú misma. Chae, beautiful message at the end. Thank you very much for your time. Always wishing you success in your career and in your personal life as well. And thank you, thanks to your family as well for allowing us to borrow Chae's for a few minutes. Thanks to your husband and your kids and your dog who howled a little bit during the interview and was a part of it as well. So thank you very much.
Michael, thank you so much. I love your passion and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an honor. Let me wrap this up en español, en Spanish. Esta fue Chae Marsh y Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en español.